My name is Maya Rodriguez, and I'm about to tell you the most unexpected love story you'll ever hear. It's about how I fell in love with Riley Carter, star soccer player, fierce competitor, and the one person I swore I would hate forever. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start at the beginning, 3 years ago, when I was a cocky 22-year-old basketball captain who thought she had the world figured out. Spoiler alert, I didn't. Riley and we were enemies from day one. Not the cute, playful kind of enemies you see in movies. Real enemies. The kind who made each other's lives miserable, who competed for everything, who couldn't be in the same room without sparks flying, and not the good kind. At least, not at first. I hated her perfectly styled blonde hair that somehow looked flawless even after practice. I hated her confident smirk when she walked past me in the athletics building. I hated how she made my heart race with anger every single time she opened her mouth. I hated that even when I was furious with her, I couldn't stop noticing how incredible she looked in her soccer uniform. But most of all, I hated that somewhere deep down, beneath all that rivalry and rage, I was attracted to her. And that terrified me more than any championship game ever could. This is the story of how Riley Carter went from being my worst enemy to becoming my wife. Yeah, you heard that right. Wife. But trust me, getting there was one hell of a journey. It was a Tuesday in September when I first met Riley Carter. I was in my junior year at Westbrook University, captain of the women's basketball team, and riding high on our championship win from the previous season. I practically lived in that gym. It was my territory, my kingdom. I was running drills alone after practice, working on my three-pointers, when someone walked in. I heard the door slam and turned to see this blonde girl in soccer gear, athletic bag slung over her shoulder, looking at me like I was in her way. "You need to wrap up," she said, not even introducing herself. "Soccer team has the gym booked for the next 2 hours." I stopped mid-dribble. "Excuse me?" "The gym. We have it reserved. You need to leave." I felt my blood pressure spike. The basketball team has this space until 7. It's only 6:15. She walked closer, and I got my first real look at her. She was tall, about 5'9", with an athletic build that showed years of soccer training. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a high ponytail, showing off sharp cheekbones and a strong jawline. She had these piercing blue eyes that seemed to see right through my bullshit, full lips that were currently pressed into an annoyed line, and legs that went on forever, toned and powerful. She was wearing fitted soccer shorts and a tank top that showed off her toned arms and flat stomach. She was beautiful, annoyingly so, and the way she carried herself with such confidence, shoulders back, chin up, like she owned every space she walked into, made my competitive instincts flare. "The schedule changed," she said. "We have a game this weekend. We need the space." "Well, I have a game too. And I was here first." Riley, though I didn't know her name yet, let out this laugh that made my jaw clench. "Look, basketball princess, I don't know who you think you are, but..." "Princess?" I cut her off, stepping into her space. We were almost nose to nose now. "I'm the captain of the basketball team. This is our gym. You don't just walk in here and kick me out. Actually, I'm the captain of the soccer team, and yes, I do." She smiled, but it wasn't friendly. It was challenging. "So unless you want me to call Coach Morrison and have him explain the new schedule to you, I suggest you take your ball and bounce." God, I wanted to wipe that smirk off her face. "You know what? Fine. Take your precious gym time. But don't expect me to just roll over every time you snap your fingers. Wouldn't dream of it, though rolling over might be your only skill." I grabbed my bag and walked past her, making sure to bump her shoulder deliberately. "You don't know anything about my skills." "I know you just lost the gym," she called after me. I flipped her off without turning around, and I heard her laugh again. That laugh would haunt me for weeks. That was how it started. A stupid argument over gym time. But it set the tone for everything that followed. Riley Carter had gotten under my skin in a way no one ever had, and I couldn't let it go. The war begins. After that first encounter, things between Riley and me went from bad to worse. It became a full-blown war. Every time the basketball team needed extra practice space, suddenly the soccer team had priority. Every time I went to use the weight room, Riley was already there, taking up the equipment I needed. We'd argue in the hallways, compete for the athletic department's funding, and generally make each other's lives miserable. The worst part? Everyone on campus knew about our rivalry. It became this thing people talked about, Maya versus Riley, basketball versus soccer, the two captains who couldn't stand each other. "You've got to chill with Riley," my best friend and teammate, Jasmine, told me one day after practice. "This beef is getting out of hand." "She started it," I muttered, chugging my water. "You're both acting like children," Jasmine said, shaking her head. I don't know, try to coexist? You're making things awkward for everyone." But I couldn't let it go. Something about Riley Carter pushed every button I had. Maybe it was her confidence, or the way she always seemed to be one step ahead of me, or how she looked at me with those blue eyes like she could see exactly how much she was getting to me. One Friday afternoon, I was leaving the locker room when I literally ran into her, like, full-body collision in the hallway. Her athletic bag went flying, my books scattered everywhere, and we both stumbled. "Watch where you're going," we said simultaneously. Then we were on the ground, scrambling to grab our stuff, reaching for the same notebook at the same time. Our hands touched, and I swear I felt this jolt of electricity that made me pull back like I'd been burned. Riley pulled back too, quickly, and for just a second, I saw something in her eyes, something that wasn't anger or annoyance. Something that looked almost like attraction? But then her walls went back up. "Maybe try looking where you're walking instead of stomping around like you own the place. Maybe try not taking up the entire hallway with your ego," I shot back. We stood up, facing each other, close enough that I could smell her perfume, something floral and clean that made my head spin. "You know what your problem is, Maya?" Riley said, her voice low. "Enlighten me. You think you're better than everyone else. You walk around here like you're untouchable, like the rules don't apply to you." "That's rich coming from you," I said, my voice rising. "You're the one who acts like the world revolves around you and your precious soccer team. At least I don't have a superiority complex. At least I don't have a stick up my..." "Ladies!" Coach Morrison's voice boomed down the hallway. We both jumped. "My office. Now." We followed him in silence, shooting daggers at each other with our eyes. Coach Morrison sat behind his desk, looking exhausted. "I'm getting really tired of this," he said, rubbing his temples. "You two are the captains of the most successful athletic teams at this university, and you're acting like high schoolers. It's embarrassing." We both started. "I don't want to hear it," Coach cut us off. "Here's what's going to happen. The university is hosting a charity sports event in 6 weeks, an exhibition showcase for high school students. You two are going to co-organize it. Together." "What?" I nearly shouted. "Absolutely not," Riley said at the same time. "It's not a request," Coach said firmly. "You'll work together on this event, and you'll be professional about it. Maybe if you actually spend time together instead of just fighting, you'll realize you're not so different. Meetings every Tuesday and Thursday evening. First one is tomorrow at 6. Don't be late." He dismissed us, and Riley and I walked out of his office in stunned silence. "This is your fault," she finally said when we were in the hallway. "My fault? You're the one who..." I stopped myself, taking a breath. "You know what? Fine. I'll see you tomorrow at 6. Try not to be insufferable." "I could say the same to you," Riley shot back, but there was something different in her voice. Less anger, more curiosity? As I watched her walk away, I had this sinking feeling that things were about to get a lot more complicated. The next evening, I showed up to our first meeting already irritated. The idea of spending 2 evenings a week with Riley Carter was my personal nightmare. I grabbed a coffee from the campus cafe and headed to the small conference room Coach had reserved for us. Riley was already there, sitting at the table with her laptop open, looking annoyingly put together in a fitted athletic jacket and jeans. She glanced up when I walked in. "You're late," she said. "I'm 2 minutes early," I countered, checking my phone. "The meeting starts at 6. Early is on time is late." I rolled my eyes and sat down across from her. "Can we just get this over with?" For the next hour, we went over the details for the charity event. We had to coordinate basketball and soccer demonstrations, arrange for food vendors, get student volunteers, promote the event on campus, and basically put together an entire showcase in 6 weeks. It was a lot of work, and normally I would have been excited about it. But having to do it with Riley made every decision feel like a battle. "We should do the basketball demo first," I suggested. "It's more dynamic, it'll hook the audience." "Soccer should go first," Riley argued. "It's more universal. Everyone knows soccer. Everyone knows basketball too. Not internationally. We're not organizing an international event, Riley. We're in Ohio." She glared at me. "Fine. Basketball first. But only because I'm trying to be professional here." "How noble of you." We continued like that, bickering over every little detail, until finally Riley slammed her laptop shut. "You know what? This isn't working. We can't agree on anything. Because you're being stubborn about everything." "I'm being stubborn?" Riley stood up, and I stood up too, not wanting to be at a disadvantage. "You literally argue with every single thing I say. Because your ideas are..." "Are what?" "Say it." She stepped closer, and suddenly we were in each other's space again, like in the hallway. But this time, there was something different in the air between us. The anger was still there, but underneath it was something else. Something that made my pulse quicken. "Your ideas are actually not terrible," I admitted reluctantly. Riley blinked, clearly not expecting that. "What?" "I said your ideas aren't terrible. The soccer demo first might actually work better for flow. And your idea about getting local businesses to sponsor is smart." She stared at me for a long moment, and I watched something shift in her expression. "Did you just agree with me? Don't let it go to your head." A small smile tugged at her lips. "You know, you're not as awful as I thought you'd be." "Gee, thanks. I'm serious. I thought this was going to be torture, but you actually have some good ideas too. The interactive stations, the mini tournament idea, those could work." We stood there, closer than we'd ever been without fighting, and I found myself noticing things about her I'd tried not to see before. The way her eyes crinkled slightly when she smiled. The small scar above her left eyebrow. The way she smelled like vanilla and something citrusy. I took a step back, suddenly needing space. "We should probably call it for tonight." "Same time Thursday?" "Yeah," Riley said, and was it my imagination, or did she sound almost disappointed? "Same time." As I packed up my things, Riley called out, "Hey, Maya?" I turned. "Yeah?" "Thanks for trying. I know this isn't easy for either of us." "Yeah, well, Coach was right. We need to be professional." "Professional," Riley repeated, and something in her tone made me think she was talking about more than just the event. I left before I could overthink it, but as I walked back to my dorm, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted between us. Something small, but significant. And honestly, it scared the hell out of me. Over the next 2 weeks, our meetings became less hostile and more productive. We still argued, but it felt different now. More like banter than actual fighting. We'd trade sarcastic comments, roll our eyes at each other's suggestions, but somehow we were actually getting work done. No, absolutely not, I said during our 4th meeting, looking at Riley's proposed budget. We cannot spend $300 on decorations. It's a showcase, Maya. Presentation matters. It's a charity event for high school kids. They care about the sports demonstrations, not whether we have color-coordinated banners. Riley leaned back in her chair, studying me. You're very practical. And you're very extra. Extra? She laughed. I prefer detail-oriented. That's just a fancy way of saying extra. She threw a pen at me. I caught it and threw it back, and suddenly we were both smiling. Actually smiling at each other. It was weird and unexpected and kind of nice. Compromise, Riley said. 200 on decorations. We'll make some ourselves to cut costs. You want to make decorations? Together? It's called teamwork, Rodriguez. Ever heard of it? Barely, I muttered, but I was still smiling. After our meetings, we started walking back across campus together. It wasn't planned, it just happened. We'd be talking about the event, and then we'd still be talking as we left the building, and somehow we'd end up walking the same direction, even though our dorms were on opposite sides of campus. One Thursday night, after a particularly long meeting, we stopped at the campus coffee shop. My treat, Riley said when I pulled out my wallet. You did most of the heavy lifting on the vendor contracts today. You don't have to. I know I don't have to. I want to. She ordered for both of us. She somehow remembered that I liked my coffee with 2 sugars and cream, and we sat at a corner table. So, Riley said, wrapping her hands around her cup. Tell me something about yourself that has nothing to do with basketball or this event. Why? Because if we're going to be working together for the next month, we might as well get to know each other. Unless you want to keep pretending we're mortal enemies? I considered it. The old me would have made an excuse and left. But sitting there, across from Riley in the warm glow of the coffee shop, I found myself wanting to stay. I'm pre-med, I said. Planning to apply to medical school after I graduate. Riley's eyebrows shot up. Seriously? I had you pegged as a business major or something. Because I'm competitive? Because you're commanding. You have that presence, you know? Like you could run a company. I want to be a surgeon. Specifically, orthopedic surgery. I want to help athletes recover from injuries, maybe work with professional teams someday. Riley's expression softened. That's actually really cool. Why medicine? I hesitated, then decided to be honest. My little brother had a bad accident when he was 13. Broke his leg in 3 places. The surgeon who operated on him was amazing, patient, skilled, really cared about not just fixing the injury but getting him back to playing baseball. He made me realize that's what I wanted to do. Help people get back to doing what they love. That's beautiful, Maya, Riley said quietly, and the way she said my name, soft, sincere, made something flutter in my chest. What about you? I asked, needing to shift focus. What's your major? Environmental science. I want to work in conservation, maybe with national parks or wildlife organizations. I love soccer, but I don't see myself playing professionally. I want to do something that makes a real difference, you know? I found myself looking at her differently. Riley wasn't just the cocky soccer captain I'd been fighting with for weeks. She was someone with depth, with dreams, with reasons behind her confidence. Why do you care so much about the environment? I asked. Riley smiled, but it was tinged with sadness. My dad died when I was 16. Cancer. He was an outdoorsman. We used to go camping every summer, hiking, fishing. Being in nature was his favorite thing. Before he died, he made me promise to protect the places he loved. So, that's what I'm trying to do. Riley, I'm so sorry. It's okay. I mean, it's not, but it's been 5 years. I've learned to live with it. She took a sip of her coffee. He would have liked you, actually. Me? Why? He always respected athletes who took their sport seriously. Who had discipline and drive. You have that in spades. We talked for another hour about everything and nothing. I learned that Riley was left-handed, that she had a younger sister in high school, that she was terrified of spiders but would never admit it to her teammates. She learned that I was the oldest of 3, that I stress-baked when I had exams, that I secretly loved cheesy romance movies but pretended to hate them. When we finally left the coffee shop, it was nearly 11. We walked slowly across campus, neither of us in a hurry to end the conversation. This was nice, Riley said when we reached the point where our paths diverged. Talking like normal people instead of fighting. Yeah, I agreed. It was. We stood there for a moment, and I felt this pull toward her that I couldn't explain. Or maybe I could explain it, but I didn't want to admit it. See you Tuesday? Riley asked. Tuesday, I confirmed. As I walked back to my dorm, I realized something terrifying. I was starting to actually like Riley Carter. And not just as a colleague or acquaintance. I was attracted to her. Had been from the start, probably, but I'd buried it under all that anger and competition. And I had no idea what to do about it. The next Tuesday, something felt different. Riley was already in the conference room when I arrived, but instead of being buried in her laptop, she was sketching something on a notepad. What's that? I asked, setting down my bag. Ideas for the banner design. I was serious about making some decorations ourselves. She turned the notepad toward me, and I saw detailed sketches of banner layouts, logo placements, color schemes. Riley, these are actually really good. Don't sound so surprised, she said, but she was smiling. I used to do art in high school. Gave it up for soccer, but I still sketch sometimes. You're full of surprises. So are you, Dr. Rodriguez. We worked on the banner designs together, our chairs pulled close so we could both see the notepad. Every time our arms brushed, I felt that jolt again, that electric current that made me hyper-aware of her proximity. What about this? Riley said, sketching a new design. Her hand moved confidently across the page, and I found myself watching her more than the drawing. The way she bit her lip when she concentrated. The way her blonde hair fell forward, and she'd absently tuck it behind her ear. Maya? What do you think? I snapped back to attention. Sorry, yeah, that looks great. Really great. She gave me a curious look but didn't comment. We decided to work on the decorations that weekend, meeting at the art building on Saturday afternoon. When I showed up, Riley was already there with supplies, poster board, markers, paint, glitter, which I protested but she insisted on. This is going to be a disaster, I said, looking at the spread of materials. It's going to be fun, Riley corrected. When was the last time you did something creative just for the hell of it? I couldn't remember. Everything in my life was scheduled, planned, purposeful. Riley seemed to sense this and smiled. Come on, Rodriguez. Live a little. We spent the next 3 hours making banners, and Riley was right, it was fun. We blasted music from her phone, sang along terribly, got paint on our clothes and glitter everywhere. At one point, Riley dipped her finger in blue paint and swiped it across my cheek. Did you just? You had something on your face, she said innocently. I dipped my hand in red paint and went for her, but she dodged, laughing, and suddenly we were chasing each other around the art room like children, trying to paint each other, laughing so hard we could barely breathe. Riley finally caught me, grabbing my wrist to stop me from getting paint in her hair. We were both breathing hard, standing close, her hand still wrapped around my wrist. The laughter died away, replaced by something heavier, more intense. "Maya," Riley said softly, and the way she said my name made my heart stop. I should have stepped back. Should have made a joke, broken the tension. But I didn't. Instead, I stood there, drowning in her blue eyes, feeling her thumb absently stroking the inside of my wrist, wondering what would happen if I just leaned in. "Riley! You in here?" A voice called from the hallway. We jumped apart like we'd been caught doing something wrong. A girl from the soccer team poked her head in. "Oh, hey Maya," she said, looking between us with obvious curiosity. "Riley, we're meeting up for dinner in 20. You coming?" Yeah," Riley said, and I noticed her cheeks were flushed. "Yeah, I'll be there." The girl left, and we were alone again, but the moment was broken. "I should probably." Riley gestured toward the door. "Right. Yeah. Me too." We cleaned up an awkward silence, and when Riley left, I stayed behind, staring at the banners we'd made together, trying to figure out what the hell had just happened. Because something had definitely happened. And I was pretty sure we'd been about to kiss. The thought terrified me and thrilled me in equal measure. Over the next week, I couldn't stop thinking about that moment in the art room. Every time I saw Riley on campus, my heart would race. Every time we had a meeting, I'd catch myself staring at her lips, wondering what it would feel like to kiss her. It was driving me crazy. To make matters worse, I started noticing other people noticing Riley. How could I not? She was gorgeous, confident, charismatic. I watched girls flirt with her in the dining hall, saw guys try to get her attention at parties, and every time, I felt this irrational surge of jealousy that I had no right to feel. We weren't together. We weren't even really friends. We were just two people forced to work on a project together who happened to have undeniable chemistry. But that didn't stop the jealousy from eating at me. It all came to a head at a party that Friday night. Jasmine had dragged me to this off-campus house party, insisting I needed to stop being a hermit and have some fun. I hadn't planned on staying long, but then I saw Riley across the room, and I couldn't leave. She was talking to some girl I didn't recognize, tall, pretty, clearly interested based on the way she was leaning into Riley's space, touching her arm, laughing at everything she said. "You're staring," Jasmine said, appearing at my elbow with 2 beers. "I'm not staring. You're totally staring. And you look like you want to commit murder." I took the beer and drank half of it in one go. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Maya, come on. I'm your best friend. I know you. And I've been watching you and Riley dance around each other for weeks now. When are you going to admit you like her?" "I don't." "Bullshit. You've been obsessed with her since you met. First it was hate, now it's something else. Something that looks a lot like attraction." I opened my mouth to deny it, but what was the point? Jasmine could read me like a book. "It doesn't matter," I said instead. "She's clearly interested in other people. Or maybe she's talking to that girl because she thinks you're not interested. Ever consider that?" Before I could respond, Riley looked up and our eyes met across the room. For a moment, everything else faded away. Then the girl she was talking to said something, drawing Riley's attention back, and the moment broke. "Go talk to her," Jasmine urged. "And say what?" "I don't know, anything. Tell her how you feel." "I can't do that." "Why not?" "Because I was terrified. Because admitting I had feelings for Riley meant risking our fragile new friendship. Because if she didn't feel the same way, I'd have to see her twice a week for the next month and it would be unbearable. "I just can't," I said, and walked away before Jasmine could argue further. I ended up on the back porch, nursing my beer and feeling sorry for myself. I was being ridiculous. I knew that. but I couldn't seem to help it. Hey. I turned to find Riley standing there, hands in her pockets, looking uncertain, an expression I'd never seen on her before. Hey, I said back. Can I join you, or are you doing the whole brooding alone thing? Free country. Riley sat down next to me on the porch steps. We were quiet for a moment, and I was hyper-aware of how close she was, how our shoulders were almost touching. You left in a hurry earlier, Riley said. Everything okay? Fine. You sure? Because you looked kind of... I don't know, upset? I'm fine, Riley. Okay. She didn't sound convinced. So, that girl in there, Stephanie, she's in my environmental science class. She was asking if I wanted to study together sometime. That's nice, I said flatly. Is it? I looked at her. What do you want me to say? I want you to tell me why you looked like you wanted to kill her when she was talking to me. My breath caught. I didn't. Maya, I'm not blind. You were glaring daggers at both of us. Maybe you're imagining things. Am I? We stared at each other, tension crackling in the air between us. I could feel my heart pounding, could see my own confusion and fear reflected in Riley's eyes. I don't know what you want from me, I finally said. I want you to be honest. With me, with yourself. Riley turned to face me fully. Because I think there's something here, between us. Something that's not just about this event or our teams. And I think you feel it too. Riley. Am I wrong? She challenged. Tell me I'm wrong and I'll drop it. I'll go back to that party, I'll study with Stephanie, I'll pretend like there's nothing between us. But if I'm right, if you feel even a fraction of what I've been feeling these past few weeks, then tell me. Please. I looked at her, really looked at her. At the vulnerability in her eyes, the hope mixed with fear, the way she was putting herself out there despite not knowing how I'd respond. And I realized I was done lying. Done pretending. Done fighting against something that felt inevitable. You're not wrong, I whispered. Riley's eyes widened. I'm not? No. You're not. I do feel it. I have been feeling it. And it scares the hell out of me. Why? Because we're supposed to hate each other. Because everyone expects us to be rivals. Because I don't know how to do this, whatever this is, without messing it up. Riley reached out and took my hand, lacing her fingers through mine. The touch sent electricity shooting up my arm. What if we figure it out together, she said softly. What if we stop fighting it and just see what happens? I looked down at our joined hands, then back up at her face. I don't want to ruin what we're building. What if not trying is what would ruin it? She had a point. We sat there, hands intertwined, music and laughter drifting from the party inside, and I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, about to jump. I like you, I admitted. More than I should. More than I wanted to. Riley smiled, that real, genuine smile that made her whole face light up. I like you too, Maya Rodriguez. Have since the day you flipped me off in the gym. That's a weird thing to find attractive. You're a weird person. Takes one to know one. We were both smiling now, and the tension shifted from anxious to something warmer, more hopeful. So what do we do now? I asked. Riley squeezed my hand. How about we start with this, let's go on an actual date. Just you and me, no event planning, no teammates, no rivalry. Just us getting to know each other. Like a real date? Like a real date. My heart was racing, but for the first time in weeks, it wasn't from anxiety. It was from excitement. Okay, I said. Yeah. Let's do it. Tomorrow night? There's this Italian restaurant downtown I've been wanting to try. Tomorrow night, I agreed. Riley stood up, pulling me with her, and for a moment we just stood there, faces inches apart, hands still clasped. I should probably get back to my team, Riley said, but she didn't move. Probably. But I don't want to. Then don't. She smiled, and then she leaned in and pressed a soft kiss to my cheek, so close to the corner of my mouth that I could feel her breath against my lips. Tomorrow, she whispered, and then she was gone, heading back into the party, leaving me standing there with my hand pressed to my cheek, my heart hammering, and a smile I couldn't wipe off my face. Jasmine found me a few minutes later, took one look at my expression, and said, "About damn time." And you know what? She was right. I changed my outfit 7 times before our date. Jasmine sat on my bed, offering commentary on each ensemble. Too casual. Too formal. What are you, going to church? Okay, that one's perfect. Wear that. I looked at myself in the mirror. Dark jeans, a burgundy blouse that Jasmine swore made my eyes pop, and my nice leather jacket. Casual but put together. Confident but not trying too hard. Who was I kidding? I was trying so hard. You look hot, Jasmine assured me. Riley's going to lose her mind. What if this is a mistake? What if we're better as, whatever we were before? Enemies who wanted to jump each other's bones? Jasmine. I'm just saying what everyone could see. Now go. You're going to be late, and you know how she feels about punctuality. The Italian restaurant was small and intimate, with dim lighting and candles on every table. Very romantic. Very date-like. Very different from our usual coffee shop meetings. Riley was already there, waiting by the entrance, and when she saw me, her face lit up. She was wearing a dark green dress that hugged her curves and made her eyes look even more blue, and her blonde hair was down in loose waves instead of her usual ponytail. "Wow," I said when I reached her. "You look amazing." "So do you," Riley said, and I didn't miss the way her eyes traveled over me, lingering in a way that made heat pool in my stomach. "Come on, our table's ready." The hostess led us to a corner booth, private and cozy. We ordered wine. Well, Riley ordered wine while I stumbled over my words like an idiot, which made her laugh. "Nervous?" she asked once we were alone. "Is it that obvious?" "Kind of adorable, actually." The great Maya Rodriguez, nervous on a date. "I don't do this often," I admitted. "Dating, I mean. I'm usually too focused on basketball and school." "Same here. Soccer takes up most of my life." Riley reached across the table and took my hand. "But I'm really glad I'm here with you." "Me too." The dinner was perfect. We talked and laughed, shared pasta and stories, and it felt natural in a way I hadn't expected. Without the event to focus on, without our rivalry hanging over us, we could just be ourselves. And I discovered that I really, really liked who Riley was when she wasn't trying to one-up me. She told me about her sister, who was apparently considering following in Riley's footsteps and playing soccer in college. I told her about my family's tradition of Sunday dinners where my abuela made the best tamales in the world and my little brother tried to steal all of them. "I want to meet them someday," Riley said. "Your family?" "Yeah. Yeah. They sound amazing. And they made you who you are, so." The way she looked at me when she said that made my chest tight. After dinner, we walked through downtown, not ready for the night to end. It was a cool October evening, and without thinking about it, I shrugged off my jacket and draped it over Riley's shoulders when I saw her shiver. "Such a gentleman," she teased. "I prefer gentlewomen," I said, echoing a conversation from months ago. Riley stopped walking and turned to face me. "Can I tell you something?" "Always." "That day we met, when you flipped me off? I thought you were the most infuriating, arrogant, frustratingly attractive person I'd ever seen. And I hated that I found you attractive, because I wanted to hate everything about you." "I felt the same way," I confessed. Every time you walked into a room, my heart would race, and I'd tell myself it was anger. But it wasn't just anger, was it? No, Riley said softly. It wasn't. We were standing under a streetlight, close enough that I could see the flecks of gray in her blue eyes, close enough that I could smell her perfume. Maya, Riley whispered. Can I kiss you? Instead of answering, I closed the distance between us and pressed my lips to hers. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, both of us still figuring this out. But then Riley's hands came up to cup my face, and I wrapped my arms around her waist, pulling her closer, and the kiss deepened. It was everything I'd imagined and more, electric and warm and right in a way that made everything else fade away. When we finally pulled apart, we were both breathing hard, foreheads pressed together. Worth the wait? Riley asked. Definitely worth the wait. We kissed again, and this time there was more urgency to it, weeks of tension and denial pouring out. Riley's fingers tangled in my hair, and I pressed her back against the brick wall of a closed storefront, losing myself in the taste of her, the feel of her body against mine. We should probably. Riley murmured against my lips. Probably, I agreed, but neither of us pulled away. Finally, reluctantly, we separated. Riley's lips were swollen, her cheeks flushed, and I'm sure I looked the same. I should walk you back, I said. Ever the gentleman, Riley smiled, taking my hand. We walked back to campus slowly, fingers intertwined, stealing kisses at every corner. When we reached Riley's dorm, she pulled me into the shadows beside the building. Come upstairs, she said, and there was no mistaking the invitation in her voice. Riley. Just to talk. Or, not just to talk. Whatever you're comfortable with. She bit her lip. I just don't want this night to end yet. Neither did I. So I followed her inside, up 3 flights of stairs to her room. Her roommate was gone for the weekend, she told me, and suddenly we were alone in her space, surrounded by soccer posters and photographs and the lingering scent of her perfume. Do you want something to drink? Riley asked, suddenly seeming nervous. I'm good. We stood there for a moment, the air thick with tension and possibility. Then Riley crossed the space between us and kissed me again, and this time there was no holding back. We stumbled toward her bed, lips never breaking contact. Riley pulled off my jacket, and I unzipped her dress, and soon we were tangled together on her bed, skin against skin, learning each other's bodies in the dim light filtering through her window. Is this okay? Riley whispered, her hand trailing down my stomach. More than okay, I breathed. I woke up to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar curtains and Riley's body warm against mine. For a moment, I just lay there, watching her sleep, still not quite believing this was real. Riley's eyes fluttered open, and when she saw me, she smiled. Hi. Hi. So that happened, she said, and I could hear the uncertainty in her voice. It did. Do you regret it? No. God, no. Riley propped herself up on one elbow, looking down at me. Do you? Not even a little bit. She leaned down and kissed me, soft and sweet, and I pulled her closer, never wanting to let go. So what does this mean? I asked when we finally broke apart. For us? What do you want it to mean? I thought about it. I want to be with you. Officially. I want to date you, take you out, hold your hand on campus, all of it. But I also know it's complicated. Our teams, our rivalry, what people will think. Screw what people think, Riley said fiercely. I want all of that too. And yeah, it might be weird at first, but we'll figure it out. Together. Together, I repeated, liking the sound of that. We spent the rest of the morning in bed, talking and laughing and kissing, ordering breakfast delivery because neither of us wanted to leave the cocoon we'd created. It felt surreal, being with Riley like this after months of fighting and weeks of tension. I should probably go at some point, I said reluctantly when it was nearly noon. Jasmine's going to have a million questions. Tell her whatever you want. I'm not hiding this. Really? Really. I like you, Maya Rodriguez. And I don't care who knows it. I kissed her again, deep and thorough, trying to convey everything I was feeling. I like you too, Riley Carter. Even if you are extra. And you're stubborn. Controlling. Competitive. Look who's talking. We were both grinning like idiots, and when I finally forced myself to leave, I walked back to my dorm feeling like I was floating. Jasmine took one look at me and screamed. Oh my God! You did not. I did. Tell me everything. So I did, and by the end of it, Jasmine was practically bouncing on my bed with excitement. This is the best thing that's ever happened, she declared. You and Riley together? It's like enemies to lovers fanfiction come to life. That's a weird comparison. But accurate. So what now? Are you like, girlfriends? I think so. We didn't use that word exactly, but... My phone buzzed with a text from Riley. Riley, missing you already. Dinner tonight? I smiled and typed back. Me, definitely. Your place or mine? Riley, mine. I'll cook. And by cook, I mean order pizza. Me, perfect. You're grinning like an idiot, Jasmine observed. I know. It's disgustingly cute. I know that too. Over the next week, Riley and I fell into a routine. We'd have our event meetings, which now included a lot more kissing and a lot less arguing. We'd study together in the library, our feet tangled under the table. We'd steal moments between practices, meeting in empty classrooms or behind the gym for make-out sessions that left us both breathless. But we hadn't told anyone yet. Not officially. Our friends were starting to figure it out. Jasmine knew, obviously, and a couple of Riley's teammates had seen us together, but we hadn't made any kind of announcement. Are we hiding? I asked Riley one evening as we lay tangled together on her bed. No. We're just being private. There's a difference. Is there? Riley rolled over to look at me. Does it bother you? Not telling people? I don't know. Maybe? I don't want you to feel like I'm ashamed or anything. I don't feel that way. But if you want to be more open, I'm okay with that. I told you, I'm not hiding this. Okay. So how do we do it? Make some big announcement? Or we could just be together. Hold hands. Kiss in public. Let people figure it out. I liked that idea. So the next day, when Riley met me after basketball practice, I took her hand and didn't let go as we walked across campus. People stared. People whispered. I didn't care. At lunch, I sat with Riley and her soccer friends instead of my usual table. Jasmine saw and gave me an enthusiastic thumbs up from across the cafeteria. So are you two? One of Riley's teammates, Alex, asked carefully. Dating, Riley confirmed, squeezing my hand. Yeah. About damn time, Alex laughed. The sexual tension was killing all of us. By the end of the day, it felt like the entire school knew. I got texts from teammates asking if it was true. I saw people pointing and whispering in the hallways. And you know what? I didn't care. Because every time I caught Riley's eye across a room, she'd smile at me like I was the only person in the world, and nothing else mattered. The charity event was a week away, and we were putting the final touches on everything. The banners were hung, the vendors were confirmed, the demonstrations were planned. It was actually going to happen, and it was going to be amazing. We make a pretty good team, Riley said as we reviewed the final checklist. On and off the court, I agreed. She kissed me, and I melted into it, still not over the thrill of being able to do this whenever I wanted. "Hey," Riley said when we pulled apart. "After the event, my parents want to meet you." I felt a flutter of nerves. "They do?" "I talk about you constantly, apparently. They want to meet the girl who's made me so happy." "What if they don't like me?" "Impossible. You're amazing. They're going to love you." "I want you to meet my family too," I said. "Sunday dinner, traditional Rodriguez style. Think you can handle my grandmother's interrogation?" "Bring it on." The charity sports showcase was a massive success. Over 300 high school students showed up, along with their parents and local media. The basketball demonstration went perfectly. My team showed off our skills, ran drills with the students, and made it look fun and accessible. The soccer demonstration was equally impressive, with Riley leading her team through an exhibition match that had everyone cheering. But the best part was standing on the stage next to Riley as we welcomed everyone, our shoulders touching, working together seamlessly. Gone was the rivalry, the tension, the competition. We were partners now, in every sense of the word. "That was amazing," Riley said afterward, as we helped clean up. "We really did it." "We did," I agreed, pulling her into a hug. "I'm proud of us." Coach Morrison found us and beamed. "Excellent work, ladies. You two exceeded all expectations. Maybe I should force you to work together more often." "I think we've got that covered, Coach," Riley said, and the way she looked at me made my heart skip. That night, we celebrated with both our teams at a local restaurant. It was surreal, sitting at a long table with basketball and soccer players mingling, laughing, getting along. A few months ago, this would have been impossible. Now it felt natural. "Speech," someone called out, and suddenly everyone was looking at us expectantly. Riley and I stood up, and she took my hand. "Thank you all for your hard work on this event," Riley started. "It wouldn't have been possible without every single one of you. And thank you for putting up with us," I added. I know watching Maya and Riley learn to coexist was probably entertaining. More than coexist, apparently, someone called out, and everyone laughed. Riley squeezed my hand. "Yeah, more than coexist. Turns out, when you stop fighting someone long enough to actually get to know them, you might discover they're pretty amazing. Even if they're extra," I added. "Even if they're stubborn," Riley countered. We were both smiling, and I didn't care that everyone was watching. I leaned over and kissed her, right there in front of both our teams, and the whole restaurant erupted in cheers and applause. "About time!" Jasmine yelled. "We had bets going on how long it would take," Alex added. Riley and I pulled apart, laughing, and I realized something: I'd never been happier. Meeting Riley's mom and little sister was less terrifying than I'd anticipated. Her mom, Patricia, was warm and welcoming, and her sister, Jamie, was a 16-year-old who bombarded me with questions about basketball and dating her sister. "Be nice to Maya," Riley warned Jamie over dinner. "She's already nervous." "I'm not nervous," I lied. "You've been gripping your fork like you're about to stab someone," Riley whispered in my ear. Patricia laughed. "Riley, stop torturing her." "Maya, you're lovely. And anyone who makes my daughter this happy is welcome in our home anytime." "She talks about you constantly," Jamie added. "It's actually kind of gross." "Jamie!" But I was smiling, relief flooding through me. They liked me. Riley's family accepted me. It felt like validation, like this relationship was real and solid and something worth investing in. The next Sunday, I brought Riley home for dinner with my family. My abuela took one look at Riley and pulled her into a crushing hug, speaking rapid Spanish that Riley couldn't understand but responded to with enthusiastic nodding. "Abuela says you're very pretty and she approves," I translated. "Tell her thank you and that her home is beautiful," Riley said. My mom loved Riley instantly, especially when Riley complimented her cooking and asked for recipes. My little brother, Carlos, grilled Riley about soccer strategy. My dad, usually quiet and reserved, opened up when Riley asked about his work as a contractor. "You fit right in," I said later as we did dishes together while my family watched TV in the living room. "Your family is amazing, Maya. I can see where you get your fire from." "And my stubbornness?" "That too." She kissed me, heedless of my mom potentially walking in, and I decided I didn't care. This was my girlfriend, and I wasn't hiding her from anyone. Fall turned to winter, and Riley and I fell deeper in love. We balanced our relationship with our sports schedules, studying for finals, and actually having a social life. It wasn't always easy, we still butted heads sometimes, still competed over stupid things, still had our moments of frustration. But we also had incredible moments. Late-night study sessions that turned into make-out sessions. Weekend trips to nearby cities. Inside jokes that no one else understood. The comfortable silence of being with someone who knew you completely. One snowy December evening, we were curled up in Riley's dorm watching a movie when she suddenly paused it. "What?" I asked. "I love you," Riley said. "I'm in love with you. And I know it's only been a few months, but I can't keep it in anymore. I love you, Maya Rodriguez." My breath caught. "Riley. You don't have to say it back. I just needed you to know." "Are you kidding? I love you too." I've been wanting to say it for weeks, but I was scared it was too soon. It's not too soon. Not for us. We made love that night with new intensity, whispering "I love you" between kisses, making promises with our bodies that our words had already made. Basketball season heated up, and my team was heading to the conference finals. Riley came to every home game, cheering louder than anyone, wearing my jersey number on a shirt she had custom made. Having her in the stands made me play harder, push further, be better. We won the conference championship in March, and the first person I ran to after the final buzzer was Riley. She caught me in her arms, spinning me around, both of us laughing and crying. "You did it," she screamed over the noise of the crowd. "We did it," I corrected, because I couldn't have gotten through the season without her support. When soccer season came around, I returned the favor. I went to every one of Riley's games, learned the rules inside and out, became her team's unofficial cheerleader. And when they made it to their championship game in late April, I was there in the front row, my voice hoarse from screaming her name. Riley's team won in overtime, and watching her celebrate with her teammates, covered in grass stains and sweat and pure joy, I felt overwhelming pride. This incredible woman was mine, and I was hers, and somehow we'd made it work despite everything. As our junior year wound down, Riley and I started talking about summer plans. She'd been offered an internship with a national park in Colorado. I'd been accepted into a research program at a hospital in Chicago. It meant we'd be apart for 3 months. "We'll make it work," Riley insisted as we lay in her bed one night. "It's only 12 weeks. We can video chat, visit on weekends." "I know. It just sucks." "It does," she agreed. "But maybe it's good? Prove to ourselves that we can handle long distance. Because after we graduate, who knows where we'll end up?" "About that," I said carefully. "I've been looking at medical schools. There are some good ones in Colorado. Near where your dream conservation jobs would be." Riley propped herself up on her elbow. "Maya, you can't choose a medical school based on me." "I'm not. I'm choosing based on us. On building a life together. That's what I want, Riley. A future with you." "I want that too," she whispered. "More than anything." We spent the summer apart, but Riley was right, we made it work. Video calls every night. Care packages sent back and forth. One magical weekend in July where I flew to Colorado and we hiked through mountains, made love under the stars, and talked about our future. Senior year started with both of us more in love than ever. We moved into an off-campus apartment together in September, scandalizing some people and delighting others. Living with Riley was everything I'd hoped for and more. Waking up next to her every morning. Cooking dinner together, or trying to, at least. Fighting over closet space and bathroom time. All the mundane, beautiful moments that made up a life together. "I can't believe we used to hate each other," I said one morning as we got ready for classes. "We didn't hate each other," Riley corrected, stealing a kiss. "We were in denial." Same thing. Not even close. Our final basketball and soccer seasons were bittersweet. The last games, the last practices, the last moments of being college athletes. But having Riley there through all of it made every ending feel like a new beginning. We graduated in May, both magna cum laude, our families cheering from the stands. At the reception afterward, our families mingled seamlessly, my abuela teaching Riley's mom how to make tamales, our siblings comparing notes on how annoying we were. "Can you believe it?" Riley said as we danced together at the post-graduation party. "For years ago we couldn't stand each other. Now I can't imagine my life without you," I finished. I'd been accepted to medical school in Denver. Riley had landed her dream job with the Colorado Parks and Wildlife Department. We were moving to Colorado together, starting our adult lives side by side. 1 year later, I took Riley back to Westbrook University. It was a warm September evening, exactly 3 years since we'd first met in that gym. "Why are we here?" Riley asked as I led her through campus. "You'll see." I took her to the gym where it all started. It was empty, just like it had been that first day. "Remember this?" I asked. How could I forget? "You were so annoying." "You were annoying." "We were both annoying," Riley laughed. I got down on one knee, and Riley's laughter cut off abruptly. "Maya?" "Riley Carter," I said, pulling out a small velvet box. 3 years ago, I walked into this gym thinking I had my whole life figured out. Then you showed up and turned everything upside down. You challenged me, frustrated me, made me feel things I'd never felt before. You went from being my enemy to my partner to the love of my life. And I don't want to spend another day without knowing you'll be by my side forever. Will you marry me? Riley was crying, nodding frantically. Yes. Yes. Oh my God, yes. I slipped the ring onto her finger, a simple gold band with a small diamond, and she pulled me up into a kiss that felt like coming home. I love you so much, she whispered against my lips. I love you too. Forever. The next several months were a whirlwind of wedding planning. We decided on a small ceremony, just family and close friends, at a botanical garden in Denver. Nothing fancy, just intimate and meaningful. I can't believe we're getting married, Riley said one night as we addressed invitations. Having second thoughts? Never. Sometimes I still can't believe you're real. That this is real. I'm real, I promised, kissing her. And I'm not going anywhere. Our wedding day was perfect. Sunny and warm, flowers blooming everywhere, all the people we loved gathered to celebrate us. I stood at the altar in a tailored white suit, watching Riley walk down the aisle in a flowing white dress, and I couldn't breathe. She was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. Hi, she whispered when she reached me. Hi, I whispered back. The ceremony was short and sweet. We'd written our own vows. Riley, I started, my voice shaking slightly. You came into my life like a hurricane. You challenged everything I thought I knew about myself, pushed me to be better, made me want to be better. You turned my world upside down in the best possible way. I promised to love you through every challenge, celebrate every victory, and never stop choosing you, every single day. Riley was crying, which made me start crying. Maya, Riley said, her voice thick with emotion. They say opposites attract, but I think we were always the same, two competitive, stubborn, passionate people who were too afraid to admit what we really wanted. You saw through all my walls, called me on my bullshit, and loved me anyway. You're my rival, my partner, my best friend, my everything. I promise to support your dreams, put up with your stubbornness, and love you fiercely for the rest of our lives. I now pronounce you married, the officiant said. You may kiss your bride. We kissed as our families cheered, and in that moment, everything else faded away. It was just us, Maya and Riley, enemies turned lovers, rivals turned partners, two women who'd found their forever in the last place they'd expected. That was 5 years ago. We're still in Denver, I'm finishing my surgical residency, Riley's been promoted twice at work. We bought a house last year with a big backyard where we host Sunday barbecues that rival my family's traditional dinners. We still argue sometimes. We're still competitive. Riley still pushes my buttons, and I still push back. But now, every argument ends with laughter and kisses and the comfort of knowing we're in this together. Sometimes I think about that day in the gym when I first met Riley Carter and thought she was the most infuriating person I'd ever encountered. If someone had told me then that she'd become my wife, I would have laughed in their face. But life has a funny way of working out. Sometimes the person who drives you craziest is the person you're meant to spend your life with. Sometimes your worst enemy becomes your greatest love. Riley walks into the room now, carrying 2 mugs of coffee, and sits beside me on the couch. What are you thinking about? She asks, handing me a mug. Us. How we got here. Having regrets? She teases. Not a single one. She kisses me, soft and familiar and perfect. Good. Because you're stuck with me now, Rodriguez. Carter Rodriguez, I correct. We'd hyphenated our last names, unable to decide who should change theirs. Carter Rodriguez, she agrees with a smile. Outside, I can hear the neighborhood kids playing basketball in the park across the street. It reminds me of where we started, 2 athletes fighting over gym space, too stubborn to admit we were falling for each other. Hey Riley? Yeah? Thank you for walking into that gym 3 years ago. Thank you for being stubborn enough not to leave. We sit there together, drinking our coffee, planning our evening, living our beautiful, ordinary life. And I realize that this, right here, right now, is everything I never knew I wanted. Riley Carter, my wife, my partner, my forever. Who would have thought that my greatest rival would become my greatest love? Not me. But I'm so glad she did. For everyone who ever found love in unexpected places, who turned rivalry into romance, and who proved that sometimes the person who challenges you the most is the person who completes you best.
Thank you for watching Sapphic Story Hour. Please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Until next time, bye-bye.